Yeah. Nope, there it is. I got one good little launch out of it before the check engine light came on. And see, it went away. This thing's misfiring so bad. What a hunk of junk. Oh my God. It's terrible. Welcome to Hoovie's Garage, the dumbest automotive channel in all of YouTube. And I'd like to present to you my newest hoopty, a 2008 BMW 135i with a manual transmission. Now, I have a love-hate relationship with BMWs. If you follow this channel for a while, you know that I love to bash on BMWs. But my roots go actually way back to when this car was built new. I was actually working at a BMW dealership around the year 2007, 2008. And that period of time was a big period of transition for BMW. Of course, the 7 Series changed from the beautiful one that I owned to the big blobby version that was packed with too much technology that didn't age very well. And that bangle butt era of 7 Series trickled down to the 5 Series. It got bigger and blobbier. And the 3 Series got bigger and blobbier. And BMW enthusiasts, especially the ones that love the old E30 chassis BMW back in the day, the old ultimate driving machine cars, complained that BMW had lost their way and they weren't building a car for old school BMW enthusiasts again. And this was the answer. The 1 Series, which was sized about the same as the outgoing 3 Series, or really a little bigger than the old E30 3 Series, and it came with a basic inline 6-cylinder engine, the 128 that people loved, but most, including me, lusted after this, the 135, which was a twin-turbo inline 6 and 300 horsepower in a little bitty car with a manual transmission. Basically, the best BMW built in the last decade, I believe, is this, because the M car, the 1 Series M, was overpriced and overhyped, in my opinion. You could build this car really cheaply into a 1M, and that's exactly what happened to this one. But there is one problem, though. I do genuinely believe this is the best BMW made in the last decade, but the BMW engineers couldn't help themselves, and the 135, this N54 twin-turbo engine under the hood, is one of BMW's worst in the terms of reliability. But people still love these cars and are totally willing to put up with the headaches, and, well, I'm gonna find out if it really is worth it. Now, I bought this 1 Series around November of last year after I had decided to get rid of my clown shoe that I'd owned for a year and never made a video on. The clown shoe, as cool as it was, the engine in it just didn't have enough power for my taste, especially on track days where I need the extra power to make up for my lack of driving skills. So it seemed like the 135 was the perfect choice for me, but I got outbid on Cars and Bids on a few of them. I wanted to buy one that hadn't been modified, that I could modify myself in a series of videos and then take out on the track and break it over and over and over again. But this one popped up on Cars and Bids, and it had already been heavily modified. Now, when you modify these engines, they get even more fragile, and these engines really don't need any help at all, totally stock, blowing up at 80 or 120,000 miles. This one has 90,000 miles, and it is putting out a lot more horsepower than stock. It has all the modifications of the hood, which we'll get to in a little bit, short of bolting on bigger turbos and intakes and that kind of stuff. And this car has been sitting for a while, waiting to come out of winter and get into track season. And when it arrived, it was working just fine. And now, well, it's not, it's broken. So we'll have to go to the car ninja here in a little bit and figure out what's wrong. So what does go wrong with these things? Well, all the classic BMW stuff that you know and love very well. The cooling systems are fragile. The water pumps love to go. The Vano system, BMW still can't get that right, and that tends to go. In addition, this car has a high-pressure fuel system. Those high-pressure fuel pumps are expensive. They love to go. The injectors also love to go. The turbochargers also fail on these left and right, especially when they've been modded like this. Very expensive if they have that wastegate rattle. That is the sound of impending doom. They also have problems with carbon buildup, and as I said earlier, the engines just love to randomly explode. So, really bad era of BMW engineering, but the car is apparently so good that people are willing to put up with them. And they are so tunable that you can tune these to well over 1,000 horsepower. This is basically the new generation 2JZ, except, well, it's made of complete glass. But like I said, people put up with this, and I'm going to try to discover why. So let's begin a tour of the 1 Series and what in theory makes this car so special and worth putting up with, and I'll start with this little book in the back. Now, when I bought this car, I bought it from a relative of the original owner. I guess he bought it and drove it through college, and as you can see by the paintwork and the wheels, it was pretty used and abused. But initially, this was a very special car. BMW knew that this was something special, and all of the first owners of the first year of the 1 Series, they called it the Year of the 1, got a special certificate and this leather-bound book talking about, well, basically how smart they were for buying this car. And it is a very neat coffee table book for a very special car, but in the 12 or 13 years since, this BMW has had a lot of wear and tear for 90,000 miles. I think it came from New Jersey, which is not where you want to buy a car when it comes to corrosion and wear and tear, but also it looks like this thing sat outside a lot because, well, the paint is fading on the roof. It's oxidized pretty bad. There's a lot of weather checking. All of the wheels are chipping and curved. There's a lot of wear in the front of this car as well. The bumper is peeling, and on this passenger side fender, it is all dented up like it was run up against something, a very light impact. Despite all that, when it arrived, the car drove really, really well for a little while until it broke. And I love the size of this car. It is really the perfect size for a small sporty coupe. Nowadays the 3 Series is so big, or it's now called the 4 Series, whatever they're called. They are now big and bloated and ugly with those grills. I think they're trying to get people to not buy these BMW sedans and coupes anymore with those grills. Like, they want people to buy SUVs now. I can't think of why they would make the cars ugly on purpose, but this is not an ugly car at all. It is a very classic BMW look, and I have it filled with garbage, but very, very nice in here. The coral red seats are a really cool touch. Not the sport seats, unfortunately, but this is a pretty low option car overall. No navigation, just a storage cubby. But overall inside, there's a little bit of wear and tear on the interior, but it is in nice shape. Now, under the hood, things get really interesting when it comes to modifications. The previous owner really threw the whole book at this thing. From burger tuning, you can see it has the funky intake here. There's meth injection. There's also a speed limiter put on and a performance tuner, an aftermarket intercooler and charge pipe, an aftermarket exhaust, and the suspension has been modified as well. It has coilovers. So basically this thing is built to be better than a 1M, and well, it is. The horsepower is estimated at 425 horsepower in this little bitty car, and the 1M was only 340 horsepower. You have all the suspension mods to where this thing can handle as well, and it does handle very well. Unfortunately though, the engine has developed a pretty nasty misfire that actually I had a hard time trying to figure out what was wrong. I couldn't even get the codes out of it until I figured out how to work this crazy tuning system. So I'll show you that as we drive to the Ninjas, my BMW mechanic, where we can pull codes and see, well, what's going on. The exhaust on this thing does sound really good, but you hear that little rattle? I think that may be the wastegate rattle of death from the turbos, but I don't know yet. That's not the problem I've had with this car though. Before we set off, actually, the tune in this car is actually really cool, and it hacks the fuel gauge for a boost gauge. Right now it is showing the fuel about 3/4 full, but when you rev it, it turns into the boost gauge. And 1/2 on the fuel gauge is supposed to be 10 PSI. Can't really build up too much of a load in my neighborhood, but you can see it actually works as a boost gauge. That's really neat and ingenious. Unfortunately, this tuner also disables the check engine light, or basically shows it when something goes wrong and then deletes it and clears the code so it goes away. So this thing was misfiring really badly. I'll buckle my seatbelt. So when I first got this car, it drove great and it was ridiculously fast, like unbelievably fast. The only issue that I noticed was the rear end was a little wandery, like some bushings loose back there or a bad alignment. But then about a month in, it started misfiring under heavy load after a few hard pulls. And the check engine light would come on, but then it would disable itself because of the tune, and I couldn't figure out how to get that to shut off. Through some Googling though, I figured it out, but let's see Let's see how it does. Usually the first couple of pulls are okay. Yeah. Oh, there it is. I got one good little launch out of it before the check engine light came on. And see, it went away. I don't know why the tuning company would do this, maybe because they know you're going to trigger random check engine lights all the time and they can just go away, and it'll store codes for you if you have the app. I downloaded the app and I can't get it to sync to the car, but there is a trick to disable everything, and that's to hold the down button and the negative button at the same time, which I'm doing now. And that makes the whole screen blank, and you can adjust the tunes. So this adjusts it to like full insane mode, level 6, or you can dial it all the way down to normal, I think, level 2. But if you leave it in this mode, it'll leave the check engine light illuminated on the dash to get to the mechanic. So I'll do a hard pull, and that'll leave the code for Ninja to verify that it is a misfire. I think I pulled it on my little scanner. It said cylinder 3 misfire. So hopefully it's just a coil, but we'll see. There it is. And now the check engine light will stay on for the Ninja's diagnosis. It really is a shame because this car had so much power before, and now, well, now it's a total dog. The handling, though, is still absolutely fantastic. The braking, this is the ultimate driving machine. This is what BMW engineers probably envisioned the future to look like, not the cars we have now. We have the M2 and the M2 CS, I suppose, but it is a little bit of a bigger, more bloated version of this car. Still really, really cool, but I can't imagine the BMW engineers back in the day, in its prime, envisioned the BMW that we have now. This thing's misfiring so bad. What a hunk of junk. Oh my God. It's terrible. It really is amazing that we as car enthusiasts are willing to put up with this amount of abuse when it comes to our cars, because this is just so bad. How can one engine have so many faults, so many gotchas that are just ridiculously expensive to fix, and yet people still worship them? And that's, I guess, what I've built my YouTube channel on. But let's see what the Ninja thinks. He's built his empire on these crappy BMWs. Still in disabled mode, and there's Ninja. Hey, Ninja, look at it.
I like it.
2008 BMW 135i. Are you a fan? Mm-hmm. See, this was the dream BMW for me back when I was working at the BMW dealership. I thought this was the coolest thing that they made at the time. But time has not been too kind to these engines.
Yeah, true.
So, how many N54s have you seen blown up in your thing the last year or so?
At least like 3.
3?
Yeah.
I figured it'd be more. Well, in your mechanical history as a mechanic?
A lot more than that. I lost count, to be honest.
Right. Well, this one's been heavily modified. Has 90,000 miles on it. Right, the miles when these things love to blow up. Yeah, the water or meth injection, whatever that is. It's been dialed up. It is fast, or it was fast until it started misfiring. It's a total dog at this point. But not a total dog over here. The CarTrek 456, it's debadged. Mike over at Velocity Garage is rubbing on it sensually. Yeah, my badges are gone.
Yes, it's been debadged and compounded, getting polished right now.
And you're videoing the process because this thing was a total wreck after CarTrek.
It was a mess. Yeah, I don't know what you did to it. But,
well, it was a lot. So after CarTrek airs on Velocity Garage will be the restoration of the CarTrek 456. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss that, but let's get back to the 1 Series. Are you hooking it up?
Yes. Whoa.
Yeah, that's the disabled mode for the tuner, so you can pull codes. So 5 is like the highest tune mode. You can dial it down by 1,000 RPM on what level of crazy you want.
Look at that.
So cylinder 3 misfire.
Most likely it's going to be a coil.
You keep those on hand?
Oh yeah, I got plenty of those.
You probably don't go through a day without replacing a coil, right?
Exactly, yeah. They
constant.
go out. Yep, constant.
Why are BMW coils so finicky?
Or spark plugs.
Yeah.
Well, it's not BMW, it's Bosch. Now we're going to get an email from Bosch saying, what the hell are you talking about? Okay, No wonder why.
What's up?
Delphi, the boot is stuck on the spark plug. Look where it's arcing outside. Okay, I'm gonna have to
Well, that
take.
didn't fix it.
I'm gonna have to take all this out so we can fish the boot out.
Oh, really?
Yes. So we'll just take a minute.
BMW.
Got the coil out. Just give it a shot. So the one that was missing, it's weird because it's different from the rest of them.
Really?
The rest of them, they're all Bosch. This one was a Delphi.
So they replaced it once with a cheaper coil, is that, or just a different one?
A different one.
Does that mean something else, like they were chasing a different problem, or?
Well, we're gonna start with the obvious, I mean.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it could be an injector, could be a million things, but we always start with the obvious.
And I'm looking at this, a valve cover gasket does not look like too much fun on these engines.
Not quite, no. No.
There's the fuel system, which
High
injectors
pressure.
go bad, the high pressure fuel
Yeah,
pumps go
and
bad.
That's what I was looking at the index, and you have the lower index, which you are at risk. Yeah, your index 09 and it should be 11 and above.
All right, well.
And each injector, I think, is like 460 bucks a piece.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes.
Well, guess we can take this thing out for a spin. Hopefully it works, and I can show you the weird rear end thingy.
And you got a pretty good oil leak right here. Oil filter housing and cooler. And this is without doing an inspection yet.
Here we go. So you hear that little rattle? Is that the classic wastegate rattle,
Yes.
where things start to go bad?
Mm-hmm.
Charming. How much are turbos?
There's like 3 or 4 different options what you want to do with them. You can replace the wastegate, which the kit is only like 150 bucks, 180 bucks, I think. And 15-hour labor. Or you can get rebuilt turbos, or you can get new ones from BMW. New from BMW, I think they're like $3 a piece.
Jeez. Well, that's the noises it's supposed to make.
Yes.
It usually let me do one pull and then it would just fall on his face. Let's see. You feel that rear end getting a little funky?
Yes. I think, it's from the power.
It still has traction though.
Yes.
You'll feel it again because it still has the traction, it's hooking up, but then the rear end's just going cuckoo. Well, I think you fixed the misfire. Get lined up straight here.
Clear.
Feel that? It's pretty good.
Wow.
It's got the boost. Yeah, so a few more pulls and it does feel a little weird back there.
Yeah, definitely there's some odd going on in there.
Alright, well.
We'll just lift her up, make sure all the bushings are good,
Bueno.
and we'll throw in the alignment machine.
You fixed it! It has its juice back.
Plenty of power though.
Yeah.
You got the rotors kind of purple.
Really?
Yeah.
So hot?
Yes.
I felt fine.
Little bit of oil here. Oil pan.
That's standard feature on BMWs.
Oh, yeah. Very. Which, if we decide to do the turbos, I mean, that's going to be right there.
Yeah, the exhaust is putting off plenty of heat too. Jeez.
Yeah.
All right, so my wiggle.
Okay, I'm going to get a pry bar. Nothing visual. Well, I get the back. It's your strut right here. Oh, it's leaking.
Oh.
See? Compared to this one, this is looks brand new. So that's an inconsistency here. So definitely that will have your rear end messed up.
Well, it does always feel like it kind of falls to the right and then kind of bounces back and forth.
Because this one is done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well that makes sense. So not a big deal, I guess.
Very nice. And you can tell it's an East Coast car, huh?
Yes, it is definitely a lot of Jersey.
I was going to guess New York. All your bushings, they look fine. Nothing is broken. They responded pretty good. So yeah, it has to be the strut right here.
So rear struts, oil leaks, wastegate rattle. What else? What was there? Oh, you did the coil.
Yeah, and the coil, yeah.
Yes. So ballpark,
$2,000-ish.
$2,000.
Yeah.
That's about the minimum for me on anything I buy. So that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm going to take it to the track immediately after and probably totally blow this thing up.
Okay.
But that's the whole point, is if this car is worth all the headaches. You seem to think so, but you made a living out of it, so I really don't know. It is a cool car. It's great to have the power back for sure. Thank you for watching.